Hello, have you lifted any of your early potatoes yet? I have. I dropped my first pot earlier this week. In fact, I dropped 2 pots of Jazzy. I got about a pound of potatoes out of each, pound out of one, 3/4 out of the other. So that wasn't bad, bearing in mind they'd only been in that 10-inch pot 70 days. I did spend some of the time in the greenhouse, but the last few weeks they've been outside. The tops were yellowing, they were dying back, so there's no point in leaving them in the pot any longer. So I took them and I was quite pleased with what I got. And I've quite a few more pots of early potatoes that I'll be taking over the next few weeks. Jazzy will be the first ones we'll take because Jazzy are the ones that died back quickest, so must be ready earliest. But anyway, so have you lifted any early potatoes yet? You have, right. If you grew them in pots, you've now got empty pots and some compost. We don't want to leave an empty pot the rest of this summer, do we? There's another 2 or 3 months of good growing weather, and that compost, I'm positive it's recyclable, pop it back in the pot, get something in that pot. Now I've got some leeks growing, and I will be planting leeks in these 10-inch pots as the early potatoes come out. But I've also kept some potatoes back, stored them in the fridge, my fridge potatoes. I'll just bring them into the shot and I'll tell you what this is all about. Okay, these are the fridge potatoes. As you can see, they're all starting to chit up and throw roots down. But I actually got these 70, 80, 90 days ago. These were my early potatoes, but I just didn't sow them. I put them in the fridge. Okay. Now, had I sown them, this is what they would look like now. Okay, that's Winston. That's Winston at 70 or 80 days. Leaves are starting to go yellow now. It's starting to drop back. I can actually feel potatoes in this pot. It's a lightweight pot and I can actually feel there are potatoes in there. So in a few days time we'll probably be harvesting this potato, but Jazzy will go first because Jazzy has, seems to have got on quickest, and then we'll get on to Winston. So this is Winston out of the fridge. This is Winston in a 10-inch pot. Had I planted this in that pot, it would look like this, but I didn't. I put it in the fridge. Right, let's get to the crux of this. Let's see what this is all about. Come on. Okay, I'll just show you what varieties I've got, and then I'll tell you what this is all about. You've seen the Winstons. These are Winston. I think I've got about 3, 6, 9 of those. I mean, they're ready to go. Look, they need to be in now. But until we've got some empty pots, can't put them in. But I will be emptying those pots of early shortly, and these guys will be going in. So they're the Winston. Okay, I've got a couple of Charlottes. Okay, I put those to one side as well. These guys are some shop bought. Oh, I've got the packet here. What are these? British baby potatoes, Maris Pear. Okay, we eat what was in that bag, apart from these 3 that went in the fridge. So these are Maris Pear. And we've got some of our own mates, Jazzy. Just small ones. These are what were left over actually when I planted the other Jazzy potatoes. These were just small ones left over. I thought I'll keep them, you never know, I might plant them. So we've got those. So what we're going to do is, as the pots become available and the compost becomes available, we'll reinvigorate the compost with something like bloodfish and bone, anything that I can get my hands on actually, any fertiliser, as long as it's organic. If I've got some, it'll go in those pots. The compost will go back in and we'll plant these guys. Now the idea is that we're going to get a second crop from the same pot using the same compost in the same growing season. Okay, so these guys should take, I don't know, the other ones took 70-80 days. These guys maybe take a little longer because we might get into the winter months, but they might be a bit quicker because we're now in the summer months. We've just moved to our summer months. But I'm hoping these guys will come in the autumn of the year, and so we'll lift these potatoes in the autumn of the year. We'll have these potatoes then. And I might try and stretch these guys through until Christmas. If the tops die off before then, rather than harvest the potatoes, I may just put the pots in the greenhouse and let them stand. I wouldn't let them stand outdoors because the pots will just take on rain, take on water, and what potatoes are in there might just go rotten. So once the tops have died back on these guys in the autumn, beginning of winter, then we'll probably take some pots into the greenhouse, stand them there until Christmas, and then we'll have these, maybe have some of these with our Christmas lunch. We don't know. But that's the plan of attack anyway. So we'll be putting these in the pots very shortly, and I'll show you a neat trick, if you haven't seen it already, how to put these in a pot without actually breaking this top growth off, giving them some protection so that when you fill the pot you don't actually break the chits off, because they look quite delicate and they look as though they would break off, although that one in itself wouldn't be an issue, but since we've got chits, we may as well keep them. Okay, so before I sign off, for all those people who asked about Molly, she's fine, thanks for asking. She was off her grub for a couple of days. I think the warm weather didn't help much either with her being a black and white dog. But she's on her feet now. We've been out for a walk today. We've done one of our local walks, and I'll tag some video on the end of this video just to let you see Molly.